Hello. Now it's time to jump into the canola review for the crop year of 23. And how do I summarize this properly? Doesn't matter who I talk to, where they're from in Western Canada, for the most part, Manitoba. Canola was that crop that brought out pleasant surprises, smiles, challenges that came with it, as per canola usually does. And so, what I want to share with you quickly in the next 5 minutes is what challenges we had with canola on the farm and what the positive outcomes were. So, here was our plan, our goal: target 5 plants a square foot. We had a 1.5 inch downpour in 5 minutes, all before we seeded all of our canola. So we actually had very good, I'll say, emergence or moisture. And obviously, this is what everyone was shooting for. This is what we saw a lot of in the fields that the agronomists of Patura Seeds checked. Very uneven plant stand. So we know that canola might be able to compensate for it. We had fairly high residual nutrients in our soil going into a lot of our canola fields. So we applied anywhere from 115 to 145 pounds of nitrogen, along with some phosphate and some sulfur. We had buteo seed treatment on all of it. Pre-emergent, we were able to get across and clean up any volunteer cereals before the canola emerged. In fact, that was one big challenge that we saw at our place and everywhere else, is in the dry seed bed. Anywhere you had volunteer cereals growing, you had a decreased quality of emergence because those volunteer cereals took out just a little too much moisture from the ground. As we moved into the year, one application of herbicide in crop, and then we desiccated with glyphosate to bring that crop in. Mistake and lesson learned. Given the year we had, I think the right recipe for success to getting that crop in the combine faster would have been adding in a contact, such as a heat with that glyphosate, to speed up the dry down, because for the most part it was 23 days before we had that canola plant really drying out. And the last thing I'll add, which is different than normal year, is we only did 200 acres of fungicide on canola because at the time we did not anticipate much yield. So we did a bunch of trials to evaluate if we should or shouldn't. The caveat on that was, historically speaking, even in dry years, we at our farm in 18, 20, 21, in those dry years, we saw a positive return of investment with a fungicide. And despite knowing that even when disease pressure is low, we are going to be getting a positive yield response, we still did not apply. That's just how challenged we thought our canola crop was. Long story short, for the most part, all positive yield responses, even when there's no disease pressure. But that's for another agronomy chat. So this is what our canola looked like at harvest time. Not very tall, not bushy, not lodged, not big pods, decent amount of pods. Those are some of the challenges. You can see those green areas. In our scenario, that caused a lot of critter loss. That green straw, finding it tough to separate, as did I think a lot of producers have those challenges with green straw and canola if you're trying to push it through too quick. I don't want to beat a dead horse. The only way to reduce those yield losses out of a combine, pull back on that joystick. As painful as it is to say, that seemed to be the only thing that was working and can be very challenging to do. So those are the outcomes of all of our fields. 2 different varieties we grew this year. First year in a long time we did not do Clearfield on the farm. L233 and L340, and absolutely exceptional yield. When we were doing our bin planning for the farm this year, we were estimating at best case 45 bushel an acre based on what we were seeing in the field. I thought that was 45 bushel an acre. And now what I need to do is readjust what 60 bushel an acre canola looks like in my mind, because it was one of those very pleasant surprises that we had, and one of the most exciting crops that we harvested this year on the farm. So really happy with the canola results and the yields. If I had to pinpoint 3 reasons why we were surprised. Number 1, lack of disease, no disease, a little bit of verticillium, no blackleg, no sclerotinia, decent subsoil moisture. We're anywhere from, after harvesting, about 9 inches of water were depleted out of our subsoil moisture, and cool July. We also got our rain events at the farm from July 20th to August 10th. And that was when the canola was reproducing. And reason number 3, so again, no disease, cool flowering period. Reason number 3, I believe the canola yields did what it did, is we had insanely high amounts of nitrogen available in the top 6 inches, because previously to flowering, all of our nitrogen was not used where we applied it. Therefore, we got rains July 20th, we were coming out of flowering, and there was lots of late season nitrogen available to properly fill out those pods. So that's something to consider next year. What's your residual nitrogen post flowering? I think it's something to pay attention to. We had one trial on our farm in canola, and that was a Liberty Link trial. 3 experimentals from Brett Young going into this season. This was on our field 15 against our 340. Again, the field average of this field did 57, I believe it was. And the one variety here, the experimental 23-0834, that variety has now been registered and is going to be coming to the market from Brett Young. The variety name is going to be called 7204, BY 7204, and we are extremely excited about it. Couple reasons. Pod Defender is the trade name that Brett Young is using, and it expressed some significant pod shatter reduction characteristics. So it's a new gene in the plant that we haven't been seeing in Western Canada so far. The way it expresses itself is creating or managing the tension within that pod. So this trial, in this variety, we did leave one pass out 2 weeks later than we should have, simply to test what the pod shatter quality is of it, because that's, number 1 characteristic and importance to farmers outside of yield. And this is a picture when we came back 2 weeks later to harvest one of the varieties that was really late. And this is of that new variety 7204, and it did not have any pod shattering. We also had left some L340, and it was equal nature of not shattering. So we're really excited to see some new genetics compete against those InVigor lineups. So stay tuned for more information. We do have a limited amount of bags available this year, so if you want to try it out, give us a call. The last thing I'll add is the option we have with this Brett Young canola is to add Saltro seed treatment to it, and that is early season blackleg protection. And that's something that you don't have access to on some of the other brands of canola. So if you want to get ahead of a disease that has been robbing yield, blackleg, Saltro seed treatment on this BY is going to be the solution for you. So that is canola as a whole on the farm. Thanks for tuning in. Any further questions, please reach out to our agronomy team at Patura Seeds, and good luck planting canola next year.